Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from our space. How do I, 40 male, deal with my ex, 38 female, and parent of our kids when she's being completely childish and unreasonable and destroying our son, 16 male's future and relationship with me and my side of the family? I've been divorced for about 10 years and have primary custody of 4 kids, aged 10 to 16. My ex, Sarah, has a lot of mental health issues. Bipolar, borderline, cluster of other conditions, which led to the divorce and me getting custody. Things between us were naturally rough for the first couple of years, but she started doing better and we developed a good co-parenting relationship for 6 or 7 years, which completely went down the drain when COVID hit. The 3 oldest spent a lot of time during lockdown with their mom, during which her mental health deteriorated, and one of the results was her trashing me to them, telling them I was a horrible father who tricked the judge, and GAL ended giving me custody. The other 3 kids saw through it and know that I'm a great dad, but the 16-year-old, Andy, completely bought into it, decided that he hated me, and that he was going to live with his mom. Andy has been a difficult child and inherited some of his mom's mental issues, and we've clashed at times. But overall we had, I thought, a solid relationship. And in the months leading up to this, we had some really good talks and a lot of fun. So it was, from my perspective, a very abrupt switch. She refused to send it back, saying he was old enough and it was his choice. I spoke with a lawyer who said that while we may win in court, it would be a Pyrrhic victory since we'd likely need police to enforce him staying here and going to school, and he'd make his siblings and my life absolutely miserable in the meantime. I reluctantly agreed and have spent the past year trying my best to reach out to Andy to improve our relationship, and to his mom to help facilitate that. Andy's been blocking my calls and texts, and Sarah has gotten increasingly brazen with ignoring me. At first, she agreed to attend counseling and mediation with me, but after a few visits, where the counselor took my side, she stopped responding to our calls and emails to set up more appointments. She also won't respond to me when I ask her about Andy's well-being, initially delaying and saying she'd get right back to me, but not, then just completely ignoring me. When he initially moved there, she signed him up for online-only high school, against my objections, and gave me the login info. He logged in for roughly 10 hours over the course of last year, and has done nothing this year. She said that she wants him to go to high school in her town, but that clearly hasn't happened either. We're now to the point where when I ask what's going on with Andy, she goes on the attack and says, I don't give a crap about him, and that I only care about high school and whether he's going to therapy and if he's still going to the doctor or dentist and if he's vaccinated. It got to the point where she ignored my attempts to communicate about pick-up and drop-off with the other kids. I had to contact her mom to coordinate. Although that's since improved, but she literally won't talk to me about anything else. I posted something similar in the Ask a Lawyer and Family Law subreddits, but I'm curious if anyone has any non-lawyer advice. For what it's worth, I have a large support system and everyone is absolutely stunned and appalled at what she's doing. But they're at just as much of a loss as to what to do as I am. Andy's blocking me, but will occasionally communicate with my family, but will ignore anything having to do with school or his living situations. It's probably worth mentioning that I have piles and piles of evidence from our divorce in which Sarah's behavior was demonstrably atrocious. I've kept that from my kids because learning those things about their mom would be devastating. But on my darker days, I've thought about sending Andy some of the more damning things to try to shock him out of his brainwashed state. But I feel like that would just make things worse, especially coming from me. I've tried to insulate the other kids from this, but they see what's going on, and it's occurred to me to have them talk with Andy. But again, I feel like that could backfire and also negatively affect the other kids. I've thought about reaching out to Sarah's mom and or husband, who are ostensibly reasonable people, but they're both clearly afraid of Sarah. I think her husband would naturally be loyal to Sarah, and her mom was 100% her corner during our divorce, despite all the evidence that Sarah was pretty awful. Sarah's mom and I have a decent relationship, and since she's the only one in Sarah's family that I can say that about, I'd be leery of ruining it. I know I haven't handled this great, but I feel like no matter what I've tried, it's only gotten worse, and so I've been kind of paralyzed lately. But I'm desperate for things to improve, and I'm hoping coasting here might lead to some decent ideas. I'd really appreciate any advice anyone has. Let's give some advice, fitting that the first one comes from Unsafe Ideas. Quote, I've tried to insulate the other kids from this, but they see what's going on, and it's occurred to me to have them talk with Andy. But again, I feel like that could backfire and also negatively affect the other kids. End quote. Absolutely not. They would end up feeling manipulated, and it is also too grave task for them, with reaching consequences on relationship with brother. If you can't make Andy or ex convinced, the kids can't either. Full stop. You should talk with the other kids about what is going on though. Not ugly details, but tell them truth in age-appropriate ways. Don't lie. Don't make things sound better than they are. Don't exaggerate either. Don't let your resentment and fear show too much there. If you won't tell them truth, they will make their own, likely bad, guesses. They will make wrong conclusions about how the world works. Realize also that wife and Andy will try to convince them about their vision at some point. She will try to manipulate them. The rest of the stuff requires a lawyer, an actual child, teen, psychologue, or psychiatrist. What is going on with Andy is severe and outside of what random people in Reddit have experience with. Research stuff like parental alienation and get advice from actual experts. Next bit of advice coming from Auntie Fascist. I'm speaking to you as a parent who's been through a custody struggle of over a decade with an abusive ex-partner. You're not going to like this, but it needs to be said. You've done all you can reasonably do here, and you need to find a way to let go. Andy is 16, and he does have the choice to live with his mom. And believe her if that's what he wants to do. It sucks, it's hard, but that's the reality. Kids eventually see through their parents' BS. It may not happen soon, but eventually it will happen, and Andy will want to have contact with you again. At the moment, the more you try, the more you're going to push him away. Leaving your other kids out of this, trying to get them to talk sense into Andy, is putting them in the middle of what is ultimately a struggle between you and your ex. This is one of those situations where there are no easy answers and no easy solutions, just time and patience. One more bit of advice coming from Waiting for a Dragon. I think one way to look at this is that if he is having the same issues or similar issues as his mom, it might be wise to let him stand on his own 2 feet for a bit while he's young. Likely fail and understand what the consequences of that failure are through experience, while he's still young enough to course correct. It's not ideal if he messes up his education now, but he can pick it up later. It will be difficult, but he can do it. If you keep bailing him out and trying to protect him from these choices, he might just keep messing up for years. Hopefully, if he stayed with his mom for now, he'll see that while dad's boundaries are boring, they do serve a purpose. I think the best thing you can do is make sure he knows that you love him and that your home is always open to him at any time. All right, on to the next story. My 31 male girlfriend, 39 female, is talking excessively, and it feels on purpose. We've been dating for 3 years, and I'm not a morning person. I never have been, and it's been made worse by the fact that I am a light sleeper. Like the blue light on a cable box can keep me awake. And my girlfriend has sleep apnea and snores like a lumberjack. Because of her sleep apnea, she also tosses and turns a lot. I don't sleep well, which means I'm pretty much a zombie in the mornings until I've had a glass of water, coffee, and breakfast. My girlfriend is also a talker, which has never been an issue because she's always respected that I'm just not and can literally go a whole day in silence. But over the last few weeks, it seems like she's suddenly forgotten and starts having these in-depth conversations each and every morning, which go one of 3 ways. I, yes, her to death, and she goes, oh, I forgot, don't talk to in the mornings. Or I just stay silent and she accuses me of being grumpy and rude. Or she literally gets agitated with me and we end up fighting. It's almost starting to feel on purpose. The other reason I feel is on purpose is because she only talks a lot if it's during something I am doing for myself, or during a show I want to watch, etc. Allow me to explain. I work from home temporarily because of COVID, but my job demands my attention to the point that even though I'm at home, there are days when I can't even leave my desk to refill my water, let alone take lunch. My girlfriend's job, on the other hand, is currently at a point, because of COVID, that she's home by like noon. Every day, most days, she does her own thing. But lately it feels like an increasing amount of time she comes up and sees that I'm working or on a call, and even though I explain that I'm busy or on a call, tries to start up a combo, hovering over my computer, which feels very abrasive, and then gets frustrated when I don't talk back. Or after work, I like to decompress, so I'll come downstairs and just want to zone out for like 30 minutes, which isn't a problem if the show she likes is on. No talking, no asking me about my day or anything like that. But then, if I put on a show I like, the floodgates open and I literally cannot even watch the show. And she talks in this way where it's a dialogue, and then these long pauses before she continues. Or if I'm reading, she can see me reading. I literally have the book in my hand, and she would just talk to me. It's gotten to the point where I just genuinely tune her out because it feels very much on purpose anytime I take time for myself or I'm doing something for myself. And it's never something she's really interested in having a convo about because the times that I suck it up and try to talk back, She just cuts me off or redirects a combo. She couldn't care less what I actually have to say. I'm starting to feel like a real a-hole, but I can't shake this feeling that it's controlling or intentional behavior, especially since it's gotten a lot worse lately. Edit. I do want to point out that we have date night weekly, whether it's going out to dinner, movie night, blanket fort in the living room, going to see cover bands, etc. We religiously have date night every week. We also try to cook together every night, and we try our best to have genuine quality time each day. No phones or anything. Sometimes it's only a half hour, and other nights we binge watch half a season of Schitt's Creek, holding hands, in total silence, laughing like idiots. My post is specifically about when I'm unavailable to have full-blown convos. Update. Hi everyone. I just wanted to say that I'm reading each of your responses and can't thank you enough for the time each of you has taken to give me some feedback and perspective. I've taken y'all's advice, and we had a talk when she got home, and I had lunch. Take that corporate chills. Turns out, sleep apnea runs in her family. Her grandmother even needed to have the surgery that they trimmed down the roof of the mouth. She'd just been scared to get checked out, so she's putting off going to the ENT for years. She admitted that she knows it's a problem but has just been scared. We are going to have a telemed appointment with an ENT tomorrow to ask for a sleep study. Fortunately, I have a great ENT who did my sinus surgery earlier this year, so I'm certain she will get good help. Further, we talked about sleep, and she suggested, to my surprise, that I sleep in a different room every couple of nights to catch up on some rest. She also has a dream machine that she hasn't used in our entire relationship because she knew how light a sleeper I was and was scared to keep me awake. So we will be using that as well. Apparently, we both love the sound of thunder and rain to sleep, and agreed on that noise. We also talked about communication, and she admitted that she's been feeling extra needy since starting to come home early. Everyone she knows is typically working, and she gets eager to talk to someone, so by the time I sign off from work, she's itching to talk to anyone. I admitted that I thought she was doing it on purpose and explained that it felt that way because we could sit in silence during the housewives, but would have a long conversation if I put on, say, Entourage. We had a really good conversation about being more open about our needs and communicating more on both sides when one of us needs to talk, or if one of us just needs some quiet time. It honestly feels like a huge weight has been lifted off of both of us, and while I feel like a jerk for assuming it was on purpose, I really appreciate all this solid, non-judgmental advice given to me today. Thank you. Now let's see what some of the comments say. Working Trot says, "You're both sleep deprived, and sleep deprivation makes you crazy. She needs to get treatment for her sleep apnea, and one of you needs to sleep elsewhere until that happens, or forever. There's no law that says couples have to sleep in the same bed. Once you're both well rested, then talk it out. There's a good chance this will all work itself out when you both are getting proper sleep." Is a quick thought from retired aerospace VP. By the way, sleep apnea is serious. Have your doctor prescribe her a home sleep study and see if she would benefit from a CPAP machine. It could be life-changing for both of you. Jamie Pack 89 has her last comment. Have you talked to her when she's doing it? I can almost guarantee you she's not doing it to annoy you. I am somewhat similar to you in the morning. I need quiet, and my roommate is very talkative. When I started waking up earlier, we had some difficulties because they'd start talking right away, and my quiet mornings were wrecked. So I started being an a-hole because I assumed they knew they were bothering me. But they didn't. We talked about it, and while they knew I was grumpy in the morning, they had no idea why. We came up with a signal. If I hold my hands up, I can't talk, listen, interact. This helps because I literally can't verbally communicate sometimes, and my roommate kind of needs things spelled out in order to get it. The main thing is that you need to talk to her and explain how her behavior is affecting you.